Hi, Brian. How are you today?
Good, Garrett. How are you?
I'm doing great. So I just have the three questions for this art exhibit just to do the interview real quick. So I'll jump right into it. What was your inspiration for your piece in the Art Around the City Trail?
Well, my piece is painted at the Sunflower Festival in Frankenmuth. It was a gorgeous day. It was in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody that was at the festival, this was the only festival in Frankenmuth that year, and people were so happy to be out. And so there's a whole vibe and energy to the whole scene. And when you're just looking over those sunflowers, of course, is the eternal optimism of sunflowers. How can you go wrong? So that's inspiration for any painting, studio or plein air.
All right. So getting into the next question, where do you like to do your work?
Well, I'm I'm easy. I could go for studio or I could go for plein air. Yesterday I was out. It was a beautiful day here, and we were outside painting. Um, and somebody texted me later and said, "Oh, I just drove by and saw you out there plein air painting. I was going to swing back and say hello." And so it's just two different things, and they're both wonderful. They're both fun. Obviously, you have a lot more control in the studio as opposed to chasing shadows like crazy on a beautiful sunny day. But so it's 50-50. I love them both.
Okay, and then what would a typical day in your studio, or even if you're painting outside, what would that look like for you?
Well, in the studio, we're using photo references, obviously our own photos, and we have to sort through them and zoom in and zoom out, find the right composition, and see what's gonna what we're in the mood for that day, really, or what's gonna speak to you. And so that's the start. And then of course you're doing the fundamentals, getting ready. You're setting your turpentine aside, and you're getting your paint ready, and then you're lining in and going at it, putting down your darks and lights and all that fun stuff. And of course, at the end of the day, you're looking over. It's like, well, what needs framing? What needs varnishing? Do I have to empty the trash again? So it's just all that stuff.
Yeah, and then on average, how many hours a day or week would you say that you spend in a studio or painting at least?
Ideally, I would say at least 3 hours a day. The best plan is to be painting every day, but life gets in the way. You can't do that all the time, much as we'd like to.
Yeah.
But as much as possible, 5 times a week would be great. Sometimes you're not that lucky,
Mhm.
but 2-3 hours a day is pretty much the minimum once you get into it, because it's a whole thing. You gotta, like I just said, you gotta get started and get into it. By the time you're really getting going, it's like, oh my gosh, it's time to go to bed already. But
Yeah. And then what has inspired you to work in your specific medium?
well, we're oil painters, I guess, mostly because that's how we started. Um, and I'm not afraid to go to the dark side, those watercolors and chalk and stuff like that. But right now, I just feel a real kinship, and because it's what we know, it's what we're familiar with. There's probably some of that in there too. But we like it because we know it. And at some point, we probably will take a class and some acrylics and stuff like that. I don't think I'm going to be a sculptor anytime soon, but I wouldn't rule it out.
All right. And then how long have you been painting in total? Like how many years?
Well, I've been painting for 5 years.
Okay.
And I had a visual job for 36. So, it was the type of thing where I was always thinking in terms of space and layout and vantage points and stuff like that. And so then when the time came that we took our first oil painting class, a whole revelation occurred. And I was like, oh, yeah, let's do this. This is fun.
Well, all right. It was really nice to talk to you about your art, and I'm excited to see it when it's out on the exhibit. So,
Hey, thanks a lot, Garrett.
all right. Yep. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.